Hello and good morning. This is a little special episode here on Fitness, Food, and Finance, and I'm going to talk about the Elsie Enduro Trail Ultra, and I got a couple other things that are going to come up that I just wanted to start with this, so it'll be a little episode. I don't think this event gets enough press. I tried to research it and see like, hey, what else can I see about this? And there really just wasn't that much stuff. So if you're interested in these endurance runs, or in this case, it was a last man standing run, at least you can understand what this one is. It's in Ringold, Georgia, just up the street, started at 8 a.m., very reasonable, and then basically you would run until you couldn't run anymore. But it's fun to have events out there that you can do, some milestones, some things to challenge you to. So I've got a men's group we're going to start here at the gym. And one of the things that I know I'm going to do is let's pick something tough and let's all go do it. Or at least a bunch of us, right? Kind of like doing a Tough Mudder or a Spartan race or one of those things. Anyway, I want to give you a little bit of what we did here so that if you're thinking, hey, I want to do this, or you're just researching for this event for 2026 or later. Okay, so Evie and I did this yesterday, and Brandon Phillips and Jessica and a bunch of people from CrossFit Bound were there. They had about 10, maybe 6 people, and we had 2 from CrossFit Garage, and my dad came up to run support. I would definitely bring somebody that can do some support, or I would plan a bit better for your transitions. So when we do an adventure race, you're out in the woods doing a thing, you come back to your transition box, and you have as much time as you want, and then you leave. Obviously, you don't want to stay there forever. We jokingly call it grilling because you can set up a grill and make some hamburgers. That's not what you do, but you're just wasting time there. So the idea was we would have food prepped, coffee, hot chocolate, wagon wheels, whatever, hard-boiled eggs, and my dad would know to have that ready as we came around. So one thing we realized quickly was he had no idea when we'd be showing up, and so we had to come up with some sort of communication method. In my family, it's the whistle, that whistle. We just do it really loud, and everybody knows to turn and look. It's super convenient, kind of embarrassing sometimes when you realize you're trained to a dog whistle, but anyway, it's still pretty fun to have him there to be able to support. So Evie and I came through on the first lap, and it was a crap show. We weren't ready. I was wearing the wrong stuff. Brendan Rice from Watify had given me this cool vest that had water pouches in it, and you had pockets, and man, it was the perfect thing for this. Many people wearing it. I was standing around talking to Evie, and the guy's like, "Get over here and go." I was like, "Well, damn it, I wasn't paying attention to the 8 o'clock start." He was serious, and we just sort of took off, and I was ill prepared for the first lap. We made it, but it was not a good lap. Okay, so what is it? And then I'll give you some more stories. Basically, there's a state park or a county park called Elsie Nature Preserve. And it's got a couple trails on it. As a matter of fact, I think, here's the trail map. So we were in this parking lot area, and if you're watching the video, you're going to see it. If not, then just use your mind. And basically in this parking lot area, we would come out. Let's see, how did this work? Yeah, this is how it worked. We would start, we would exit the parking lot area, get on the blue loop, and then jump on this white loop, and we would run all the way down through the green loop. So we would go loop a tiny portion of 6, number 1, then 3, and then we'd hop back on number 1, and then we'd stay on number 5 because we were next to the river. And then we would come back up to the parking lot. So it was a 2.5 mile loop. There's other paths you could take, but they would mark it off with orange flags to which way to not go. So it was easy to kind of figure out the route. Also, we weren't first. And it's in a timed trial. Basically, you have to make it across the line every 40 minutes. I forgot to bring a watch, so that was dumb. Though there was a bunch of people with watches, so I could just follow them. So the way it started was there's a corral in the parking lot. And he's like, "Hey, everyone get around here." There was about maybe 50 to 100 people. It wasn't very big. He had the clock going, and 3, 2, 1, go, and everyone took off. You have a white armband, and that told you were going on the route, and you went to the right. And then when you got done, you would take your armband and put it on their map or their mat, and you would pick up the yellow armband, and then they would go through and mark, like, "Hey, you're here, you did a thing." When you were done, you're like, "I'm out." You would pick up both bands, so they knew you're done. So 3, 2, 1, go. You have 40 minutes to make the loop. If you make it, you can go again. the amount of time you get to rest is whatever was left over in that 40 minutes. So the very first lap, we were going kind of slow. We showed up with 3 minutes to spare. I was like, okay, I can go faster, and there's no time to do anything, and my dad wasn't ready. So Evie and I grabbed some food, grabbed some water real quick, ran back over, and he's like, go. We're like, all right, we're out. The next lap, we did a better job pacing. We picked up somebody else, some dude in blue that Brendan was following. We just stayed with them, and then we had like 4.5 minutes once we got to the corral. A little bit better, and I whistled, so my dad knew we were coming, and he had prepared some food, so we ate that down. The things we didn't really consider was what happens if it's, that time of month, or you got to take a dump, or you just don't have that much time, and there's no pause button. So if you're like, well, I got to go to the bathroom, it's going to take you more than a couple minutes, then you're going to run late, which means you got to go way faster. So I think what it really comes down to is I definitely should have trained better. So in an adventure race, you're not running like this. We were definitely moving. There's a lot more walking in an adventure race because, again, the time's not really against you. If you don't want to do a thing, don't climb the hill to get that checkpoint. Don't. Yeah, you'll miss a checkpoint, but you can keep moving along. So it was a good first race. It started off at 25 degrees, which was tough. And the second loop, Evie and I both took our jackets off. And then within like 5 minutes, our arms were freezing. So I happened to have some Hot Pockets. I was holding onto those. And of course, being a good dad, I was like, hey, do you need these? She's like, no, I'm good. And she was trying to put her arms in her shirt while on a trail run. I'm like, hey, you're going to break your teeth if you put your arms in your shirt. Just take these. I'm good. I wasn't good, but whatever. You want your kids to be okay. So Evie was a trooper. She did 4 laps. I did 5 laps. Yeah, I did 10 miles. So 2.5 miles. So yeah, 10. I did 10 laps. She was done. So I was like, well, kind of the point I'm here is for her. So I just said, all right, I'm out. But also my foot hurt. I might have gone a couple more laps, but it wasn't going to be great. So I asked Brandon how he did. He said he made it 40 miles. So that's 11 laps, I think. But, anyway, or no, not 11 laps. That's more than that. That's 10 hours and 40 minutes, which would have been more like 15, 16 laps. Anyway, okay, back into the race. There are some pictures from the last couple of years I've done this. So 2022, 23, and 24. I'll click on these 24s and see if there's anything that would be like, oh yeah, definitely. Oh, this would be a good one. So the corral area, you could set up tents and have a hangout area. I don't think you needed to have that much, unless you were really like, I'm going to make it for like this, the guy who won it last year finished running at 3 a.m. So almost 24 hours of running. No, thank you. I can't do that. We just basically parked out in the open. Now, if it was raining, I could see how you'd want a tent or something. On the trail, I mean, it's just a normal trail. There's nothing exciting about or awkward about it. You're running on a road. It's not a road, a trail next to a river. It was, certainly nice. It was good. It was a nice day. It was sunny. It was just really damn cold. Let's see. Did they have a picture of the bands? They don't. They do actually have some food out there for you. So you could get away with not bringing anything, but I totally would. Oh, here's this is a picture of their mat. So they write your name in one of the lines, and then you have 2 sections, one for the white band and one for the yellow band. And you just replace them, pick one up and replace it as you go through the challenge. So super easy. That made a lot of sense. No problem there. The other thing on the run, so it is a last runner standing. So there is no end until the last guy is done, and then it ends. So it's really hard to understand, like, hey, when's this thing end? And it doesn't, right? They do have some runner details. If you go to sign up on, ultrasignup.com, they give you some more specifics. This was a little bit more helpful to kind of understand what was going on. Did the photos. Okay, so some of the results. The guy who won it last year was Brandon Casteller? I don't know, something like that. He did 72.5 miles for the win. I'm sure he could have kept going. There was a bunch of people who finished really fast. So David Top, he did 2.5 miles. What does that mean? Either he didn't make it around or could have hurt himself, whatever. He chose not to go again. Andrew and JC and Ryan did 3 laps. And then there's a bunch of people who did, not 3 laps. Yeah, 3 laps. And then there's a bunch, that'd be 4. Yeah, 4 laps. And then there's some 5 lappers and so forth. So there is a bell-shaped curve here if you were to plot these out. Bunch of people finished in the 30 miles area. So that's interesting. There's a big gap between 22 miles and 30 miles. So no one dropped out of that. Anyway, so 30 miles was where a lot of people dropped. Let's see. Brandon made it right here to the 40 miler. So he's going to be in the top, definitely in the top half. The people's sizes and shapes and ages were all over the map. There were some people, there was a tiny kid out there. He must have been, I don't know, like 7. And he was doing lap 2. So I don't know what he did after that. There was older people, big people, small people, whatever. So anybody can do this. It's not a tough race or it's not an exclusive race. Anybody can go. You're just probably not going to win, which is totally okay. So again, it's last man standing. They do have they're a 501c, which is they're going to benefit children and family through the Evitt Foundation, which I guess I can click learn more. I don't know what that is. So the Evitt Foundation promoting child welfare and education in the North Georgia, Chattanooga area. Well, that sounds pretty cool. So they do it for a good cause. The people were great, the volunteers. And here's a picture of them running through the night. Yeah, I don't know if I would have gotten there. Running at night is... We already tripped a few times, so let me give you a couple stories. So Evie and I are making our way through the trail, and there's a lot of leaves down, so the roots and rocks and whatevers are hidden. And if you're not really paying attention or picking your feet up well, you're going to kick something. Everybody took a little bit of a kick trip. Evie took 2 that had her wind up on the ground, almost eating dirt with her teeth. Like a champ, she got up, she said, "No, I'm fine." And kept going, but I could tell it hurt. I took multiple trips that I turned into a sexy dance and almost ate it. One time I actually tripped going up a hill and I caught myself on her and she's like, "Yeah, right, you're going to pull me down?" So just be careful out there. I would recommend layers. Like I said, it was 25 degrees when we started, way too cold. And I just wasn't ready for them to say go. So I had a short sleeve and then this little jacket I like to wear when I race. And I ran in that unintendedly on the first lap. What I should have done is had a short sleeve, a long sleeve, and then a heavier long sleeve that I could have taken off over time, right? So I blew that part. I did race in pants, which I had my shorts underneath, but I knew my legs would be cold. So for me, the hardest part, and actually right now my toes are still suffering. My extremities get cold pretty easy, so my fingers and my toes. So the hand warmers did good for my hands. I probably would have had a second pack ready to go, maybe swapped them out, because those hot packs, the way they actually work is oxidation. So when oxygen hits them, they have a chemical reaction, creating heat and a tiny bit of water. So as you crunch them down in your hand, they're not getting as much oxygen, so they're going to slow down. So if you had them out, if that you could swap back and forth, I think that would be a wiser way to go. They did have a water station when you came back in, so you can get water or Gatorade. What I'd recommend is electrolytes, because you're just not drinking much while you're jogging. And if you have one of those cool vests, you can squeeze the water in, great. That works very well. Somebody was carrying a water bottle that they had just kind of twisted down, so it was a small water bottle. But I think having water out there is a good call. You don't want to go 40 minutes without drinking anything, especially if you are thinking, well, I'm going to do hours of this. The other thing you don't really want to do is get back to the transition area and then down a crap ton of water and then try to go out and run. It's just not going to work. So I actually had to pause one time to run into the bathroom to pee. I guess you could pee in the woods, but there's people everywhere and the trail's not that big and it's winter, so it's very exposed. So I thought, whatever, I can just make it back in the pee word, the designated area, in the toilet. So don't want to drink too much, but you definitely want to be drinking. I'd also probably do something for salts. I use Hammer Endurolites as the electrolytes I like. I also use that LMNT. So I use the raw unflavored and I'll pour some of it into water. If you pour too much, it's like too strong and I'm sure that's not great for you. So make sure you're getting food and electrolytes. If you try to go, well, I'll just not eat anything, or I'm just going to eat in that tiny span of the window between laps, you're going to be in trouble. Again, I forgot to bring a watch. I would definitely bring a watch because you need to know the time. You need to have a way to pace. My normal jog would have gotten me through the line okay. On my very last lap, I thought, nature's calling in a bigger way. I should probably get back faster. So I picked up the pace and I ended with 8 minutes to spare and I felt pretty good. So could I have kept that pace up to have more time in the corral? Maybe, but I definitely pushed it a bit more, and I was way sweatier. Of course, it was the last lap, so it was later in the day, so it was a little bit warmer. But there's, I think Brandon was doing it right. He really wanted to go for 40 miles. And the way to do that is to never really strain yourself out. So he always ended up with like 4 or 3 minutes on the clock. So he would grab a thing, get ready, and go. The problem there is, at least while I was with him, he wasn't eating or drinking while on the trail. And 3 minutes just isn't enough to shove stuff down your face, especially when you're going to exert for that long. Also for me, of course, I'm eating carnivore, so I don't eat carbs. So one of my buddies, Chris, was like, hey, can you even do something like this with no carbs? The answer is yes, I've already done it. But it's always fascinating to get out there and just be like, I'm eating an egg or some old steak, or we call it a wagon wheel. It's deli meat with cheese and a little mustard, and you just roll it up. So it came from that old show. Let me see if I can find it. It was pretty damn funny. I can't believe I found it. Somebody put this on YouTube. All right, here we go.
Bang, bang, bang. Oh, howdy, partner. Time for timer. Do you ever get that hungry feeling after school? Boy, I do. I'm so hungry, I could eat a wagon wheel. When I'm slow on the draw and I need something to chaw, I hanker for a hunk of cheese.
Anyway, that's where it comes from. I don't think I remembered that he said I could eat a wagon wheel. He's not calling what he made a wagon wheel, so I guess this whole time I've been saying that wrong. But it's like a potato with legs, and he's singing a song from the Old West. It's super stupid, but as a kid, I just remember that. That and the one where they would be like Malfunction Junction or whatever, and then I'm Just a Bill. You got to be old to remember that stuff. So a long time ago, on Saturday morning, you'd get really cool cartoons. Everyone would wake up, and the cool cartoons would start. I think 8:30 a.m. was the best cartoons, and then they fought for the spots around it. So if you saw a show you liked, you would have to get up at 6 a.m. to catch your show. And that was just what you did. That's how you watched cartoons, and there was no way to record it. So if you wanted to see it, you had to actually get up and watch it. Very different world. Okay, so anyway, that is the Elsie Enduro Trail Run. It was a lot of fun. We'll definitely do it again, and I'm going to train a little bit better for it. There are other ultras out there. This one was not very aggressive, in my opinion, for the hills. There was some hills, obviously. It's in North Georgia. But it wasn't a mountain. It was just, we're going back up I guess it was a hill face. I don't know. It was tall, but it wasn't terrible. And there's no I have to get on my hands and feet and crawl up or anything like that. It was a good race. I think it's good for all levels. It is early in the season, so you get to at least know what you're like. And it is really cold, but they do have burn barrels out there, and you can, stay warm with clothing. If you're from our gym, CrossFit Garage, and you think, hey, this sounds like fun, I'd like to do it, let me know. I'd love to have you. The other things we do are adventure races. If you'd like to try that, it's a jog, mountain bike, and canoe while looking for checkpoints in the woods. Evie and I do this. We've got a couple other people that have done it with us. We'll be doing them again this year. Other things coming up actually today at 1 o'clock, and I'll talk about it later on in another podcast, but we're going to do a Cherokee County Chicken Peoples meetup. So we're just going to be here at the house. We're going to look at what I'm doing, and then we're going to talk about solutions and just meet your neighbor, basically. And then at 6 p.m. tonight, we're going to do our first CrossFit Garage men's group. It is Bible-based because, again, I said this in the last episode. My morality is really based on this Christian worldview. I'm not saying yours has to be. It's just hard for me to get around the point when someone's like, well, why? I'm like, well, I mean, this is a really good principle and it's right here in the Bible and I agree with it. So I kind of agreeing with what the Bible is saying. Again, I don't really care I kind of care what you do, but not really. If you've known me for the last 20 years, I don't, what do they call it? Like knock on doors and whatever. I feel like my mission in life is to keep people alive longer. Fortunately, it's what I'm able to do now. Well, in addition to renting, doing rental property. As a matter of fact, I got to go put in a new igniter in an oven today. Somewhere I got to find the time to go do that. The renter said, hey, the oven won't work. I need a new oven. I'm like, so you don't need a new oven. Most likely it's the igniter. How do you know that? Well, after 20 years of doing this, it's always the igniter. So we ran through some troubleshooting and I ordered a part. So I'll head over there today to do that. Oh, the life of a landlord. It's actually kind of fun to know how to do those things. All right, guys, we're here in Woodstock, Georgia. This is a little shorter special episode just really to get something in there on YouTube as well as podcasting about the Elsie Enduro Ultra Trail Run. I wanted them and us to be able to find this information. and understand what's going on. All right, y'all take care.